Hi everyone, Nate here. So, for the last few months, I have been sharing with all of you the pieces from my own personal lightsaber replica collection. I have spoken of my Return of the Jedi lightsabers and my Darth Vader lightsabers. And originally, I was going to talk about this Kyle Katarn lightsaber in the next installment. However, in between the time of making the Darth Vader video and now, I have come to acquire my two favorite lightsabers from my two favorite characters in the whole of Star Wars. And the plan originally was to talk about them separately, but the fact of the matter is that these are two characters who are so intertwined with the story of Star Wars that it only makes sense to talk about them in a single video. So without further ado, I happily show you my two favorite lightsaber designs for my two favorite characters in all of Star Wars, starting with this is my Roman Props Gen 1 Graflex in an Empire Strikes Back configuration. Now, I will say that I have done and am continuing to do some modifications on this to make it more screen accurate. Firstly, when I received this from my good friend Jacob Bassett, who had given it to me as he had upgraded his Graflex, this saber had the rivet style Allen screws in the grips. So I replaced those with screen accurate Wanawanga Exactor 20 screws. I am also planning on getting the correct thin knurled Follomer top button here, since this Graflex still has the beer tab, and a not so shiny weathered Wanawanga Kobold clip, because I am going to have this be a Wampa Cave Dagobah ESB stunt, as really, because it still has the beer tab and I don't want to remove the beer tab, as it's actually one of my favorite details of the Graflex. I'm just going to have this be a Wampa / Dagobah short blade stunt. Technically that saber does show up at small portions of the Bespin duel. So I think maybe in the future I'll get a different top half and remove the beer tabs so I can make this a full one-to-one Bespin hero Graflex. But for now, I am very happy with the plans I am going to fulfill with this saber, and just having this saber in general is a dream come true. For 10 years, I have been hunting for a Graflex. Originally, I was trying to go for vintage, and I just have not had any luck. So when my friend Jacob offered this saber to me, I knew I would be a fool to turn it down, especially since it is a Roman's, and beyond the shadow of a doubt, Roman makes some of the best lightsabers on the market, but his Graflexes stand alone, as not only do they capture almost every little detail of vintage Graflexes, but now the Gen 2s are functioning flash guns. And I know that there are other makers, like the Graflex shop, who has done that, but there's just something a little bit more appealing about Roman's work for me. And this Gen 1 is no different. So taking a look at the top half of the Graflex, you can see that we have the screen accurate straight pins instead of the short pins. This does have the silver bulb connector instead of the gold, so that is one of the only small inaccuracies. Again, we have the same wide knurled thumb screw. If I did remove this beer tab, this would be accurate for Bespin Hero, but as I said, I'm going to be getting a thin knurl band to make this more screen accurate for Wampa / Dagobah stunts. Coming down to the clamp, the Mylar tape was not applied by Roman. This was actually applied by my friend Jacob, and I feel like he did a very good job. It's very reflective, very, very reflective. Hello, everyone. And is just such a well-known detail of the ESB stunt. And just the ESB Graflexes in general. The Otis clamp card is a Sloth Furnace replica, and like all Sloth Furnace replicas, it is double-sided. You have the thin traces here on this side, and then the thicker traces on the other, whichever accommodates your preferences. I prefer the thin traces. And it slides into the clamp and fits like a glove. Here we have the 6 T-track handles. These are a hard plastic and not rubber, which, as I spoke about with the DV6, is something that I much more prefer, as these will not wear down over time like with the screen accurate rubber grips. As I said, this originally had the rivet style screws, which have now been changed out for screen accurate Wanawanga exactor screws, and they look just excellent. And upon installing them, some of them did slightly chip, which adds such a nice level of natural weathering that I feel elevates the piece. Of course, we are coming to one of the most well-known parts, which is the Kobold clip and its configuration of the Graflex stamping, which is accurate to the Wampa Cave. I am going to be getting a weathered Wanawanga Kobold in the mail soon, so this very, very shiny Kobold is going to be replaced soon enough. But one of my absolute favorite details about this particular configuration of the Kobold is it lets us know that lightsabers are apparently manufactured in New York. The Graflex 3-cell from Empire is my favorite lightsaber design of all time, and it very much has to do with the fact that I have some very important and lovely childhood memories associated with Empire Strikes Back that I might touch on in a different video. But for now, I'm just going to say that this takes me back to being a kid watching ESB on VHS, and having a Romans replica is just surreal, and it's got such a lovely weight to it, and all of the parts function. These are real working buttons. If I was to unscrew this one, there is an actual cavity for the bulb, so if you wanted to put the classic Fulmer glass eye, you could. And of course, removing this shows the same long brass pin connectors as you would see on a vintage. The bunny ears also do function, as does the bulb connector. It is spring-loaded. And just everything about this saber is lovely. Absolutely lovely. And I am more than ecstatic to have this particular saber in my collection, as Luke Skywalker as a character means a lot to me in my life. Moving on to the second saber, and the one I received this weekend as of filming the video, and a saber that complements the Skywalker ESB so well.
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic.
Absolutely breathtaking. 89 Sabers K4 V2. This is the Obi-Wan Kenobi A New Hope lightsaber made of carbon steel. So I've said in previous videos that my DV6 Parks is hefty. That is a feather compared to the weight, the 2-pound weight of this beautiful beast. I have long dreamed of owning a Episode 4 Kenobi, as without this lightsaber, my favorite thin neck design, the V2, would not be. And these two do sit together on my desk here and complement each other very well, but as you can see, the weathering on the Obi is far more professional than the weathering on the V2, so I'm going to need to get that fixed in time. But this is just an absolutely extraordinary piece. Each detail of the Obi that needs to be here is here. There are so many wonderful individual scratches, dents, pitting. The weathering here on the wind vane is just extraordinary, and if you catch the wind vane in the correct light, you will still see the stamping. It's very hard to catch on camera, but through the naked eye, it is at times very easy to see. There is slight hints of oxidizing in the wind vane itself, which I love. Coming down to the grenade section, you can see all of this rust applied, which is lovely. Absolutely lovely. And this is probably one of the best grenade sections that isn't Romans that I've seen in a long, long time on a Kenobi. We have, of course, the Graflex clamp, which I really love the subtle weathering here on the lever. Just looks like some nice dings and scratches and whatnot. We have the 2 transistors, which, this being an 89 Sabers, these are actually your activation buttons. And I know that with this particular piece, there were 3 transistors that came in the box. One which goes here that does not have the small ring around it, so that you can turn it into a Death Star Chronicles variant of the Obi-4. But the one that I got has the 2 rings, making this a Tunisia variant, which I'm more than fine with. I just love having this saber. Here we're going to take a look at the Exactor bubble strip. I do like this bubble strip, but I think over time I'm going to switch it out for a Wanawanga, as Roy's bubble strips to me are just far more screen accurate and very aesthetically pleasing when on an Obi like this or on A&H Graflex. Flash hider section, pardon. I'm just so excited, it's hard for me to talk. The flash hider section has just the same wonderful detailing of rust and paint scraping as on the grenade section, and in natural light and artificial light it just looks wonderful. And then we have the in reality Armitage Shanks Armitage Shanks shower knob, and D-ring, which, if I am correct, it's been a while since I've looked at the D-ring placement on the Obi-4, but I'm more than certain that this is the correct D-ring placement. But this saber is just lovely. And when put next to the Luke, they complement each other so very, very well. Master and apprentice in more ways than one. These are two of my favorite lightsabers of all time, as they belong to my two favorite characters from Star Wars. And each of them have such beautiful eccentricities about them that just really make them lightsabers to admire, to study, and in many cases, like myself, to find perfect replicas of. I am just beyond floored that I've gotten to speak about both of these lightsabers in one video, and that I actually have them in my collection. And these are my two absolute best looking lightsabers. I love them both to death. But I thank you all so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. May the Force be with you.